former ambulance boss believes up to 300 lives a year could be saved in the West Midlands if hospitals and ambulance services performed better. It follows the release of figures about survival rates of patients taken to hospital following a cardiac arrest.
In the worst cases, only 10% of patients survived. In the best performing hospitals, almost 60. Our health correspondent Michele Paduano has the details.
Lucky to be alive is overstated, but when Joe Seaver attended a public meeting in this village hall in June 2011, his heart stopped. 2 police officers and a retired nurse were on hand to help. The air ambulance arrived and he received a quadruple bypass at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham.
It's sort of a reincarnation, is it not, if that's the word? But it's, yes, it's got that eerie feeling about it.
But just how lucky? Ambulance service figures show of 39 patients treated at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. He was one of only 6 who survived.
They came over and we all went and they said, you know, would you like to say goodbye before, I suppose that was in case we didn't see him again, you know. And but of course he was completely out of it anyway, so he didn't know that we were there.
Across the region, figures show the best performance of 58% was in Stafford Hospital. A big trust like University Hospitals Coventry and Warwickshire achieved 47%. At the other end in Burton, just 11% walked out alive, and at Walsall Manor Hospital, the figure was 10%, or just 3 patients. Former Staffordshire Ambulance Chief Roger Thane says survival for patients who arrive at hospital having had their heart restarted could be better.
We can improve the ambulance service to the best and we can improve the hospital treatment to the best, then there could be 300 lives a year saved in the West Midlands alone.
Walsall Hospital disputes its 10% survival rate, saying its success rate is 19%. Burton has not responded. The Queen Elizabeth Hospital questions the validity of the figures. It says they were compiled for the ambulance service by the ambulance service. It's trawled its own figures and found 26 patients admitted to the hospital, of which 3 survived, which is just 11%. But it argues that it's a major trauma centre and accepts the most seriously injured patients. Footballer Fabrice Muamba's heart stopped for an hour. He's now supporting this Warwickshire charity, fighting for better outcomes.
We need to improve the services, improve the access to specialists in this area, and then more people will be saved.
Then more people like Joe could get on with their lives. Michele Paduano, BBC Midlands Today.
Well, Daniel Beach is from Arrhythmia Alliance, the charity we saw featured in that film. It's a coalition of charities which campaign for better diagnosis and treatment of the heart condition. Thank you for coming in this evening. What's your reaction to this wide variety of survival rates that revealed in this latest figures?
Horror, but not surprise. The challenge we have when campaigning for the improved care of heart rhythm disorders is there is massive variation across the UK. We find that the UK performs poorly compared to its European neighbours, and within the UK there are vast differences in many different types of care, and as highlighted in these figures, a link in the chain of survival following cardiac arrest has broken in many of the centres in a small area, and we can expect to see exactly the same across the country. What we need is uniform services so that there is both efficiency and equitable access to care, so it doesn't depend on where a patient lives as to what care they receive.
And we saw in the case of Fabrice Muamba that he was treated very quickly by medics. So how crucial is time in the treatment of these heart conditions?
Time's essential. The likelihood of survival following cardiac arrest reduces by between 14 and 20% with every minute that passes post-survival. The idea is to follow a thing called the chain of survival. The first thing being to call the emergency services, then to buy time with CPR, then to try and restart the heart with a public defibrillator, and then comes the acute care phase in the hospital when it's handed over to the professionals. And all of those steps are there to reduce the amount of time before the heart is started again and the acute care is received, which is why the ambulance services focus so much on response times.
OK, Daniel Beach, thank you.
Thank you.